I feel like the approach you're doing it right now is like good with like the singles and all that too. Getting people to like tap in with, and I want to speak more on that. So, you've been dropping it more than like dropping like an album or an EP. Do you feel like it's like better to connect with fans that way, or are you more inclined to dropping like a project soon?
So I actually initially in 2018, I want to say, I did release a project. It was my initial project that I had ever released on platforms. Didn't even know at the time how to use like DistroKid properly. Didn't know how to do anything. I was just kind of making music for fun. And that was my initial product that I was able to then go perform with and open for artists with and be able to really enjoy myself with. But again, it just wasn't it didn't, as much as it would resonate with people when I was like at a club or at a concert or whatever the case might be. It just didn't resonate with what the message that I want to portray. So I ended up getting rid of that. I scrapped it. Again, I had another little EP. And I again just was like, you know what? It again still doesn't really register with the message that I want to send. I kept one song from that, kept that out. It's called "Wait for Me." It's still out everywhere. And then yeah, this honestly the because all summer, pretty much every month, I've released one single. I was actually building all of these songs to build an album. And then I talked to a few different people. I talked to like my girlfriend, and I really just came to the conclusion of like, I want to build my library. I want people to know the different things that I want to do in music, because every song that I've made isn't the same, and every song that I've made isn't the same vibe. And like I have another like the next song I'll be releasing. I haven't set the date, but it'll probably be this month or the beginning of next month. But even that is like that song I'm releasing is so experimental. It's not even it's not even close to what I've done prior to, because I just want to try things. I want to
Yeah,
be able to see what resonates with people and see what sticks with
yeah,
people. And I mean, some things that I think might be amazing and the best thing I've ever done might only get 7 plays. But I
yeah.
mean, the best thing that did for me was it helped me through something. It helped
Yeah.
me through a place.
Yeah, most definitely. And I definitely understand why like the whole like album process is still in motion too, because you don't want to have like an assortment of songs that are in one project, but like they're different meanings within different styles. I know for some people like it's better to have like one project where you have like certain songs within a certain theme, or have it like as an experimental project than even having like all these like different assorted songs. And I think that's like the same for music nowadays too. I think back then, some rappers curate, and like even artists who curate their songs appropriately for that like certain project too, like with Chance's project, Acid Rap. Was curated well for people to experience what being on certain drugs is like for LSD, with shrooms, everything else too,
Yeah.
like with Take Care and all that too, with the idea of breakup, with love, with getting over like with instant situations too.
Yeah.
And even with I think this other project too, I'm trying to figure out yeah, with Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent and all
Oh
that too,
yeah.
just you know rags to riches type story. And nowadays with rap, like artists, like I think because the whole deluxe editions too and the pandemic, people are just like putting stuff on one album, but there's like no theme or no motion to it. It's
Exactly.
like, I'll have like these 20 assorted songs, and like they're like different vibes and different energies and all that too. And I think one example, I think I might get shitted on this, is that Dirk's project, like still like healing, still healing or something like that. And I feel like there were some good songs, that had that good theme, but then, you're gonna have other songs where it's gonna be like the same stuff, killing, robbing, all that type
Yeah.
of stuff too. Like even with new music too, like Glorilla and like Lil Baby and all that too. I
Yeah.
feel like there is no message or focus on what this project's all about.
Yeah.
It's just 20 assorted songs of like 20 assorted emotions and all that.
Yeah. You want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
I haven't even listened to Dirk's album. So,
True.
so my no man, like and I fully agree with like even what you just said, deluxe editions, man. You got guys releasing 20 album songs and then going, "Oh, just wait, we got 5 on the way," and it's 5 more of the same music.
Yeah.
And but again, that is that's all profitable.
Yeah.
That's all mainstream
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade, but I think that that a big problem I see with local guys is local guys try and move that way too,
Yeah,
where they go, oh, I'm gonna make an album, and I'm gonna put 20 songs on it, and I can't wait to release it, and it's gonna be so fun. And you got 20 songs that are the same song, and people are gonna listen to it. Your people especially are gonna vibe to it, but you don't gain anything from that.
yeah,
And like I might keep releasing music, and some of my music might become relics. It might sit out for years and years, and that's okay to me if it doesn't pop or doesn't do anything,
yeah,
because there's a possibility that next week or next year or 10 years from now, someone's gonna hear one of my songs and be able to resonate with it and be able
yeah,
to feel it, and that is more important to me
yeah.
than to do that.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand too. And I think, back then it was just like when you put a album on, you're putting like 3, 4, 5 songs. Now, like, as you said too, nowadays it's like 20 songs. And I feel like Chris Brown is to sort of blame for it too, because I think he was like the first guy, like even before that pandemic, that kind of did all that type of stuff too. And like, I think everyone took notice and, different incentive too. And then it kind of shows like with those albums and like even them performing at these like big festivals too, when it translates to actually performing live at a stadium or performing at an arena or at a big venue, like the numbers do tend to show like when it happens too. And we kind of have to like sort of blame the pandemic and everything else too, because and like even TikTok too, I think, because it kind of gave that people the notion that you could sell out these shows even though you're not at that realm or at that like level yet where you can even do that. It takes time and that process to kind of build it too. And like, I think even for like new artists too, like even like new artists that were about to be openers are now headlining, feeder sized venues like at the Danforth or at History or at Rebel and all that too. And sometimes like the numbers don't translate like very like well and all that, so they have to start like downgrading, or they have to start becoming openers instead to kind of build that name accordingly in that sense.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, bro.
Absolutely.
And even like speaking about like touring right now, I mean, you haven't toured before, but you did open up for like Dizzy Wright, like Mad Child, Classified, and Dax. And how did those like come about, and what was it like opening for those artists and performing with like different crowds and all that?
It honestly just came down to like, um, uh, I guess the best way of talking about it would be like campaigning. Like we,
Gotcha.
at the time, like it was reaching out to anybody and everybody throwing a show, any promoter, anybody doing anything, and just kind of being like, hey, if you're looking for guys, let me know. And I mean, we got lucky with some big shows. And I know that we talked about that we briefly saw each other at the Dax
Oh
show.
yeah.
I was gonna say, I was waiting until we're on here, but I know that if you're at the Dax show, do you remember there was a guy that crowd surfed?
I think so, actually. I mean, I remember like that event at that same time too. I think there was like a shitload of people that came on. I think Dax like came into the crowd.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I remember he did a water bottle challenge. He was trying to get people to like chug the water bottle, who could chug it the quickest.
Yeah.
And someone crowd surfed. Well, the guy that crowd surfed was me.
Oh,
So
true.
if you have any pictures of or videos of
Yeah.
that, that's me. That was me that
Yeah.
crowd surfed with them.
Yeah, I think I have to like kind of find like in my reels too and all that
Yeah.
too. But I remembered like that event like
Yeah.
because I came there, it was like already like crowded too. I think they did the meet and greet at the end too, and
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I know they had my guy Jarrell perform first, and then some guy named like Apollo Ray with like Preston, and
Yeah.
then your group and all that, and then I think there was like some other guys too. I felt like there was like this one guy that kind of opened up to like Matrix or something like that, and I remembered back then, this kid had like maybe like what like 68 followers or like I think 63 like followers and all that, and like he's headlining his own show at like Smiling Buddha and all that, and like he's like DMing the people that sort of interacted with him in some way too, and like I didn't like even like notice at that time, and he was like, hey bro, come to my show and all that, and then I was like, I'll take a look and all that too. And then, several days later, hey bro, come to my show, do. I think like with some people too, like they try to force like people to come to a show, even though it's not like really like genuine, like in that sense too. Like even as a small up and coming artist that is about to headline too, and I think for some people too, like not to shit on like anyone in the parade and all that too, but you have to start off with like genuinity to kind of like build like relations with those people too, to kind of understand like, hey, if you want to come to my show, like let me know and all that too, like I still have the ticket link in my bio, rather than like DMing 100 people like a million times, come to my show and all that,
Yeah.
and like it takes time like with that process too.
Yeah,
So
I definitely think a big thing that I'm proud of for myself is anytime that we have thrown a show, whether it be as me and a collective of artists, or me by myself, or with one other artist, or planning things. I've always tried to remain super genuine with people, because I think it's so important,
yeah,
especially because if you don't treat the people in your community right, like nobody's going to pull up. And if you don't know how to converse with people or keep the people around you that are willing to ride or die for you,
yeah,
then I mean, I think that you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. And you might have a small collective of people, like I was saying earlier, like talk about like a hive mind, like a cult mind. You might have 5 or 6 people that no matter what stick around you, and whether you guys call yourself a group, whether you guys call yourself a collective, whether you call yourself whatever, um, ultimately, like if you don't know how to branch out, or how to just be more accepting and honest with the people around you in your community, you fall almost into a trap. You fall
yeah,
almost into, like you're saying, like, I mean, like this guy's DMing you multiple times, but he doesn't really know you. He doesn't really know anything about you. And, I think that taking that extra 2 seconds, I mean, you're a prime example of it. You're sitting here saying, like, kind of sucks. Like, he kind of just was hitting me up, didn't really seem genuine, blase, blase. But I mean, if he would have taken that extra 2 minutes to maybe personalize that message to you, make it more genuine,
yeah.
there's a possibility you would have been there,
Yeah.
right?
And I feel like with a lot of artists too, like they can like, captivate that like accordingly too. There are like artists that do have that genuinity to build relationships with the community as well too. And it's always about like, making sure like everyone's like right, like within their own lane and all that too.
Mm.
Like if you are experienced like in some way, or have like a platform, or have something that could help like with artists, like try your best to like kind of help out in like some way, shape, or form, or show that support too. I feel like with some people too, they expect that whole like fan base, that crowd, that luxury of like women like around them and everything like that right away too. And like I think even with some people too, they expect like a lot of shit like for granted and all that too. And I've actually met this one guy like a long time ago that he's actually from Auschwitz too. Like I'm not gonna make him famous and all that too, but like basically we did like some video work too and all that, and it just didn't work out at the end. But hearing what he did to like other people too, just with like having like videographers and producers and everyone else too, like some people, like there were like times when he took stuff for granted and expected people to work for him like for free, rather than like building a relationship and building a business like partnership and deal like with these people,
Yeah.
instead too. And I feel like that's like the problem with like some artists too nowadays, because they expect everything to be given to them like right away, even though that's not like how it goes too. It's like you build the relationship, like if you have to pay, you have to pay too, or if you have to like work with someone within a good budget, like that should be like the right way too.
Yeah.
Like don't expect like everything for like granted,
Yeah.
like in that sense too. And
Well, I think something that I found crazy, was I'm starting to realize a lot of the time is there's people that look at, um, communities, especially local communities. I mean, the GTA is not a big, like, I mean, it's a big place, but it's not that big of a place. And
yeah,
I mean, if artists actually cared to work together, actually cared to do things, they would. And I mean, I think that uh, I've heard certain guys and I've seen certain guys where they think everything is about benefiting off of one another. They think that, like, well, if I do something for you, then you've now benefited from me, so now you owe me something. And I don't think that that's how life works. I think that especially from ground zero, we're all on ground zero. No matter if we think we're the best thing on earth, we are not in mansions. We don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
Like, we still go pay for this expensive gas and put $20 in our cars. We still, like, we still pay rent.
Yeah, exactly.
We still do all those things. And I think that guys are so focused on being like, well, no, like, I'm here, so you need to respect me to a higher level than I'm going to respect you. And I do not think that's fair. I don't,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I was going to touch on the topic, like, while you're talking about it, and just say, I think that a big problem with, like, the GTA and Toronto, like, just Toronto and the GTA everywhere, is that there's gatekeepers. There's guys that have a bit more clout. They're a little bit more out there than most people. And rather than putting people on and respecting those that have been there since day one for them, or respecting those that have worked alongside them, their big thing is to be like, oh, well, I'm here now, so I mean, for you to get here, you owe me this,
Yeah.
or you got to do this. I mean, like, to be honest with you, I'm still DMing, like anytime I see like any artists, any Canadian artist, anybody throwing a show in the area, I DM them
Yeah.
immediately, and I go, hey, you guys looking for openers? Do you need anybody? Is there anything I can do to help? Blah blah blah. I mean, guys like Classified's great. He answers DMs all the time, but he's kind of weird about it, and he's a guy where, again, like, he grew up in the scene of everybody was around each other, everybody put each other up. He made music with anybody and everybody. Guys like him who, like, are now almost on a pedestal and don't really look at the smaller guys that have 1,000 followers, or like, don't have all the plays. It's really became a like a different world. When SoundCloud was big, there wasn't everybody under the sun having a
Yeah.
million followers on SoundCloud and then being like, oh, well, like, I need to work with you now.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
I need to do
exactly.
this.
Yeah.
No, it was a chance. There was, like, everybody had a chance to be able to make it somewhere. And I think that chance is starting to get less and less because people are being more selfish about what they've accomplished. And I mean, accomplishing things when it comes to music, at the end of the day, when it's from ground zero, is just being lucky.
Yeah.
It's
No.
getting lucky and having an opportunity that you took the advantage of, and being able to understand and push for. And like, that doesn't mean you got to give up on people that are, like, not as high up as you are.
No, most definitely. And I do feel like even with media pages like Six Buzz and Keep Six Solid and a lot of these other ones, it's more like favoritism rather than, like, showing support to, like, local artists and all that too, because I think very, like, far and few, like, media pages actually show love to everyone and, like, anyone and all that too, and all that, like, when it comes to, like, music and all that. With certain pages, like, they'll definitely, like, have a bias and all that too, like, depending on the money, depending on who's, like, popular right now, rather than who's gonna be, like, remembered, like, within, like, the next, like, 5 to 10 years and all that too. And I feel like that is something to, like, really, like, focus on, to put everyone on and all that too, because I think, like, even, like, whatever you're posting to, like, on social media, like with Six Buzz, with Keep Six Solid, where it creates, like, tension rather than uplift people, like, that's where, like, issues gonna happen, where they're gonna shoot at you or be, like, the victim of, like, gun violence and all that, or to getting, like, your page, like, axed out and all that too. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that a lot of, like, media pages can work on. I don't know about Six Buzz, but maybe with Keep Six Solid and, like, even with Real Toronto News and all that too, like, it is something that they do have to work on,
Yeah.
to put everyone on and all that too. And I think, like, the other ones that do put the other one on are, like, Toronto Rap Stars, and also, like, I think Toronto Top 6 and, like, the Drip Room 6 and all that, those people.
Yeah. See, and I think the biggest thing, I think that point just brings me back to talking about gatekeepers, people that have the opportunity of putting people on, and things become about financial gain and becoming about, oh, well, I've made it here, so now you got to pay up. I mean, there's songs I've released where I'm like, I'm so confident in myself that people are gonna love the song and people are gonna be all about it. And I'll literally say to myself, I'm like, you know what, like let's just see how much they're gonna charge. And their pricing lists, man, are crazy, especially with the cost of rent and everything else. Like, it's so expensive for these guys to just. Sometimes it's just a story post, and they want the most money. Like, but then you got other guys you talk to that are so down to earth, that have the clout, have all of it, and still communicate with you. I mean, like, shout outs to Devontae Woe. I don't know if you know who that is,
Yeah,
but
I know Devontae.
so Devontae's sick, man. Like, he's super dope. Anytime I see him in public, like, he's super respectful. We DM all the time. He's super awesome with me, and like, we've been talking about making music. I just need to get to the studio and be able to lay it out. But like someone like him, he's sat and talked to me about like sharing posts and stuff, and he's like, yeah, like, like. And I understand that everyone's got to make their money. I understand that at the end of the day, people got to make their money, but it's about being fair. It's about knowing that you're putting your community on first, and not that you need to charge people as much as humanly possible to be able to get what financial gain.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And I feel like we've already like discussed more about it, and we'll definitely do some more stuff soon.